Welcome to the Divine Hangout. I'm your host, Hillary Jubilee. It is my intention that when you listen to this podcast, you experience an increase in peace, abundance, and divine miracles in your life experience. If you love all things spirituality, wellness, healing, manifestation, and miracles, you are in the exact right place at the exact right time. Let's enter the portal together. Welcome back to the Divine Hangout. It's Hillary, and today I am so excited to be joined by Morgana Rae. Morgana is an internationally acclaimed life coach, author, and professional speaker, and she's regarded as the world's top relationship with money coach. She has this book, Financial Alchemy, which is really amazing. I'm super excited to talk about it. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm very happy to be here. How can I be of service?
I'm really excited for you to just talk about transforming a relationship with money. The principle in the book about the term money honey always stuck with me when I read it. And yeah, it was just something that I'd never heard of before, personifying money. So I know that you kind of came up with this. I was listening to some other interviews that you had done, and you came up with this during kind of a dark night of the soul moment. If you want to maybe start there, like with your relation, how did your relationship to money change once you figured that out and all that?
Well, first of all, I had never even considered personifying money when I had this experience. And I didn't come up with the term money honey. I was teaching a seminar to the International Coaches Federation chapter in San Diego. And one of the coaches going through the process in the audience jumped up and said who her money honey was. And that was the first time that the two words came together, and I stuck with it ever after. So, all right. So how I got here and what here is today. I have traveled the world. I have been spotted by strangers in airports as, hey, aren't you Morgana Rae, the money honey lady? And I get emails and direct messages about my book on a fairly daily basis, including I just got a huge breakthrough story through a Facebook direct message from a woman in England, which is, I love hearing about this stuff. So my story is, okay, here I am today. I own a house in Southern California. I've made millions of dollars. I travel the world. And 20 years ago, because I'm speaking to you right now in 2023, in 2003, I had been a coach to movie stars, TV directors, producers, writers, like all the people who were striking right now. But at the time, I was known for sort of a magical touch where I would just work with a new actor who had no credits and make an introduction, and boom, she would have a primetime TV series, or this one would win an award, or this one would sell his first film and stuff like that. But the thing I wasn't good at was getting paid. Like, I don't know if any of you can relate to this, but I have a huge hunch a lot of you can relate to this, that it's like really, really easy and feels good to help others. It makes the world feel like a better place. We feel worthy and loved and appreciated. It's a lot easier for some of us to help others and get paid for it. And when I say us, I mean me. Hello. So all this is going on, and I'm not making any money. So I start going to coaching schools, and I get certification after certification after certification. I have all these tricks, and I'm getting more and more testimonials, people making money, people falling in love, people having healings, blah, blah, blah. And in March of 2003, I was struggling to make $100 a month living in Los Angeles. And not only did I have at least 6 certifications, some of the master coaches of neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis and master trainer and all this stuff, and I'm making $100 a month. And even that's looking sketchy. So I'm taking all the marketing classes and I'm taking the sales classes. And so I have beautiful, I have my tagline, I have my logo, I have my website, I have my brochures, because back in those days we had brochures and all of it. Public speaking, people wanting to hire me, and I'm still struggling to make $100 a month. In fact, I took a class on overcoming sales objections. And what that means is there are classes that will teach you the magic words to say when somebody says, oh, I would love to, but I can't afford it, I don't have time, whatever, blah, blah. And they will teach you the things to say to turn that no into a yes. And I'm such a good student. Seriously, I was hit by a car. I was in a coma. I had a traumatic brain injury, and I still graduated as a National Merit Scholar in math and science, which are the hardest subjects for me back in the day. So, I'm a good student. I take the class, I do the work. So I took the class on overcoming sales objections, and 7 people in a row, I overcame their objections. Great student. And 7 people in a row did not show up and did not pay me. And that was it. That was like my last best chance. I was taking so many classes to solve the problem that I was taking classes that were teaching me how to do what I was already doing. It was like the snake that eats its own tail. That was me. So not only am I not making money, but I'm spending money on classes and solutions that aren't making me money. I'm living on credit card debt and borrowing from family, which feels horrible and shameful, especially when you're telling people that you can help them with their lives, even though I could. And there was nothing really left to do. I had tried everything, and I was working with a coach, which is hysterical because I couldn't even pay rent, but I had a coach. Thank goodness, because that saved my life. And this coach, by the way, was a peer. We had taken our, first certification exam together. We had trained at the same time, but he was making money and I was not. Like, one of these things is not like the other. So I was working with him and I was doing everything he suggested, and nothing was happening. Not his fault. Same with the classes. Nothing was moving the needle. And when the 7th person, remember I had overcome all these sales objections, when that 7th person stood me up, I just lost my last gasp of hope. And it was a really frightening, infuriating, heartbreaking moment where I just didn't see a future. And it felt like the universe was this mean hater. And I was like the red-haired stepchild of the universe that rejected me, and I hated the universe back, and I did not want to be alive because it was just too painful. I didn't see how I could survive anyway, and it felt like such a cruel joke. And I really mean, when I'm talking about this, I'm really, that's how dangerous this is because money is our ticket to live. It's existential, our right to exist. Are we wanted? Are we loved? Do we have a place here? Are we human? Are we valued? All of it is dumped on this idea that we humans created called money. Do I have any power at all? It's all in this thing we called money. And so, as you said, dark night of the soul, when I got stood up that final time, I was so angry and so hurt and so frightened. I remember just pulling shut the blackout curtains in my little teeny tiny bedroom and getting on my bed and just wailing and screaming and raging and crying, and until I had nothing left. Just hating the universe, being hated back until I was empty. And it's like when you sink to the bottom of the pool, there's nowhere else to go but up. There's actually a psychological term called enantiodrama, which means that any fully expressed emotion will give rise to its opposite. So I had fully express despair. And when I was emptied it all out and there was like nothing, no energy left, I was just cried out. I had two thoughts. And one was maybe money needed to be my next area of spiritual growth, which, let's be honest, I'm from Los Angeles. We're a very hippy dippy spiritual crowd. Spirituality was very comfortable in my upbringing. So it was like, well, maybe if I hide the money in the spiritual box, I can do something with it, right? And the other thought, which I think was more surprising and more powerful, was I got really curious about what was going on inside of me that couldn't be with money. And I don't think I'd ever had that thought before, but it did not make sense. Overachiever, over-deliverer, doing all the work that you're supposed to do over and over and over again, it did not add up. By the way, this was a moment in my life when I realized how capable I am of feeling superior and inferior simultaneously, because I knew I was a better coach than so many people out there, but I was such a loser. So I digress. I have this horrible, just, God, take me now, I want off the planet day. And I was really serious about it. It's a dangerous situation. And I had a call with my coach the next day. And this time it was different. Because I'm usually, okay, coach, what do I do? I'm ready to do it, all that kind of stuff. And this time I was just like in such anger and despair and like nothing works. And something about that moment inspired my coach at that time to ask me a question that changed my life. And it was a really weird question. He asked me, if your money was a person, who would your money be? And because I had so much ick and despair and hate and hurt swirling around money, my experience of money at that moment. Yeah, he had asked me stuff about my childhood, very typical coaching questions. That was useful. But the thing that changed my life was when he asked me who money was, because in that moment I saw who my money was. And it was not anything that I ever would have expected or imagined. My money at that moment was this big, scary, dirty, violent biker dude. Nothing wrong with bikers. This one, all bad. There was something just seething and evil and malicious about him. And I knew he wanted to hurt me. And he caused fights, and he was dangerous, and I had to protect myself from him. And I imagined myself and him at a live event, and I had my eyes on him all the time, just like in real life, all the time, but to create maximum distance between me and money. And that was my huge aha moment, because I realized it didn't matter all the emails I sent out, all the public speaking, all the strategy sessions to enroll a new client, all the articles, all the networking meetings, all the testimonials, websites, blah, blah, blah. It didn't matter what I did consciously or how well, because that's 2%, and 98% of me was team protect Morgana from the monster, and the 98% wins. Because it's unconscious and it never sleeps and it's working all the time. So Team Morgana, yay Team Morgana, was creating distance between me and money. The only problem is without money, I would die. So when I saw the monster, what I call the money monster, at that moment it was the biker dude. It was really clear to me why money wasn't in my life and why money could never be in my life if it was the biker. And the biker had to go. That was a relationship that could never, ever work. So I had to get rid of the biker, which created a new problem because, hey, I live in LA and I just got rid of my relationship with money, right? And it was so weird because as soon as I made the decision to get rid of the biker, I could feel this empty space around me. that had been inhabited by this toxic relationship that I was completely unaware was there. It was like a fish in water, and now it's gone. And I could feel the emptiness. And I know that nature abhors a vacuum. We all have heard that. And I knew that I needed to fill that space with a new relationship with money before my old monster came back or another one came in. So I asked myself, who could I want so much that I would want this person in my life, even if it was money? Which may sound weird. All of everything I've said should sound weird, honestly. I also believe my wealth is in my weirdness, rock on. So, because the last relationship had been so hurtful, so soul crushing. And if you've ever been in a relationship where it was your partner would convince you that he was the best you would ever do, and you weren't good enough, and you should be desperately grateful for the crumbs. If you've ever had that experience, you don't want it, and you get out of it, you never want to go close to that again. And that's where I was. This was like the moment in the movie where I go and get the haircut. But instead of getting a haircut, I got a new relationship with money. So I asked myself, who could I want so much in my life that I'd be willing to almost overlook that this person was money so that I could be willing to have them in my life? And this is really important, because if you just want a relationship with money because it's money and what it can do for you, it's a transactional relationship, and it's instantly another monster, and it disempowers you. But if it's a relationship based on mutual love and respect, the cash follows the love. So totally counterintuitive, but I've tested it thousands of times, and my clients have made millions of dollars. I spent last week in Sun Valley, Idaho, in my client's $10 million house on a golf course in the middle of the country's most sought after country club, having dinner at a table next to Tim, what's his name? The guy who owns Apple, Tim Cook. Right. So those are the people who live there, neighbors of my client who I've been coaching for like the last 6 years. She didn't start there. In fact, our coaching is what helped her get there. So anyway, I'm a digressor. I apologize. So I asked myself the question, who could I want so much that I'd be willing to have this person, even though it's money? And when I asked that question, I saw the new person. Just to serve you, viewer, listener, full disclosure, I am a terrible visualizer. I just get into my head, and if you ask me to visualize sitting by a river, I will spend the next 45 minutes switching rivers and micromanaging and totally in my head. So what made it work for me in 2003, and what I have to make sure happens every time I coach a client through this, is it's really the full body experience, the emotional inhabitation of the whole experience. So I was lucky because I was close to suicidal when I started. So I didn't have to dig much to get to the feelings. I didn't have to do anything for a monster to show up. And because the monster was so real to me and so gone to me, when I looked for the replacement, that came easily too. That is usually not as easy when I coach a client. We usually have to do, it takes more art to it, that I had to figure it all out and reverse engineer it after I finished the process. But I'm going to finish the story, I promise, this year, no matter what. So I asked that question, and this tall, dark, handsome, romantic, cutie, hottie guy, clean cut, safe, and sweet, like the total opposite of the monster. Again, handsome and romantic and in love with me. dressed in a tuxedo, carrying a bouquet of red flowers. Again, where did this come from? I don't know, but that's who showed up. And I was ready to swoon because he was so, again, the word safe is really important here. And it is my experience. I've been a coach now for 29 years. It is my experience coaching many thousands of clients that change happens at the speed of safety. If change is not happening, something is not safe. That's why we look for the monster. So I'm jumping around again. But so here, cute guy, tuxedo, bouquet of red flowers, as if he wants to take me out and he wants to woo me and he wants to be with me and he loves me. And this is my new relationship with money, which was wonderful and really surprising to me because it never in my life, the thought or the experience that money wanted to be with me, was trying to be with me, was wooing me. And I was pushing it away all those years without knowing what I was doing. And I felt so bad because I felt how much it broke his heart, how much it hurt him to be pushed away like that. So I asked him, what do you need from me to allow you to be with me the way you want to be with me? And I asked him that because, frankly, I could tell he wanted to be with me, and I had no clue. I had no clue how to allow money to be with me. I had Olympic muscles for pushing money away, and I just needed some guidance. I really did. I was lost. And the great thing about money now being this cute, adorable, loving guy is I could just ask. And the way the human brain works is if you ask a question, you get an answer. But when it comes from his lips instead of mine, it doesn't carry all of, Morgana's neuroses and second guessing and blah, blah. It's just like straight from the frontal cortex and the higher wisdom and the genius zone coming from love. So I asked him, what do you need from me? And he said, I need you to love me and I need you to stop treating me like a monster. And it was so sweet and so heartfelt the way he said it. And I just got it, like in the gut. And it seemed fair. Like, Hillary, if I were to say to you, I want to go to Switzerland and I want to learn to play guitar and I want to hang out with rock stars. And the only reason I can't do any of that is because of you. And you cause wars and you cause fights and I hate you and I wish you didn't exist. How would you feel?
Guilty and like I want to get away from you.
Right. So if I'm pushing money away by going, oh my God, you're so evil and I want nothing to do with you, he'll go, oh, okay, you don't want me around. I will just skulk off and respect your wishes. So I needed a new plan. And being a loving relationship partner and not treating him like a monster seemed like a good start, right? So then I was thinking, well, what does that look like? Because I started to notice how I'd been treating him like a monster unconsciously. For example, when a client who really wanted to hire me would ask me what I would charge, I would choke. I would like dance around it, apologize for it, as if there was this big, stinky, shameful monster like on my shoulder that I didn't want anyone to see. And that was what people were picking up and why they were backing off. So instead, I made a promise to my cute money honey that next time he brought me a gift, which at that time usually looked like a new client, still does. Those are my favorite gifts, but there are others. But at the time, I made a promise that next time he brought me a client, it should be like him saying, here's a gift. I would say thank you. And saying thank you looks like when somebody asks my price, I just say, here's the price. And I have the energy of, and isn't he gorgeous? And so here's the punchline. Over the next 24 hours, 4 people reached out to me to hire me, and 4 people hired me at double what I'd ever charged before. And the first time, it was so freaking uncomfortable for me because I had so many years of talking people out of saying yes without knowing that I was doing that. But this time, because I had made a promise to be loving and be a good relationship partner and say thank you, when my tongue wanted to start talking them into a free session, even though they were ready to pay me right then and there, right? I just had to learn the subtle art of shutting the F up. Like sit on my hands, bite my tongue, allow them to say yes, allow them to figure it out. When they get silent, when a person gets really quiet after you state your fee, that is a good sign. Do not freak out. Like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't hold on to your towel and don't panic, because when they get silent, they're figuring out how to pay for it. So the first time was really uncomfortable. The second time was a little bit less uncomfortable. The third time was like, okay, I think I'm getting it. The fourth time I was like, okay, I'm figuring it out. And then they just kept coming and I was getting waiting lists. So I started groups and my retreats and I wrote my book, because there are, 8 billion people on the planet? I'm not sure if we're there yet. And I don't want to coach 8 billion people, but I want to help everybody. So I do interviews like this. By the way, when I tell this story, because I'm going to break it down into the steps of the process, I'm sort of a TMI sharer. I know that my clients, I've coached some of the biggest 7-8 figure guru coaches in the industry. I have one of my clients only takes clients who pay him $100,000 a year for his cheap program, or $1 million a year for his more elite program. That's one of my guys. So I am trying to give as much value as I can, as freely and generously as I can, because the more people get a breakthrough or a shift or some kind of positive experience from this, the better the world becomes. And some of you show up and you hire me later, which is great. So where was I? The steps of the program. First, step number 1 is uncover the root cause. So I was kind of lucky, air quotes, for the people who are just listening, lucky, air quotes, because anything covering up the root cause was just kind of ripped off, and I was just a gaping, oozing wound of pain, which meant that the root cause was like right there, no digging necessary. For those of you who are leading a more happy, functional life at this moment, yay. But I will say, the person who's listening who is in a lot of fear and anxiety right now, congratulations, yay you have an advantage. This is an easier step because you're already there. And for those of you who have to dig, here's where you dig, because this is not what you will expect. There are lots of coaches out there who will tell you to change your money story, change your life. Great marketing, great advertising, complete BS. Unless it works for you, then do what works for you. I've never seen that work. So when I'm looking at the root cause of money drama is never actually money, because money is not even a real thing. It's real, but it was invented by human beings. It is a symbol. It is a symbol of very real universal human experiences. It is a measurement of your lovability, your worthiness, your safety, and your power. So when we're digging up the root cause in step number 1, we are looking for any events in your life that made you feel unlovable. That's the first one. That's the biggest one. Especially, look at parent stuff. If you had pain there. And if not, yay. You'll find it somewhere else, because that's human. Anything that ever made you feel unlovable, not good enough. Other words for that, not valued, not worthy. anything that made you feel unsafe, especially if it didn't have anything to do with money. Violence, accident, illness. Throw in eating disorders, especially women. That is such a measure of, wow, I am so unlovable and I'm so intolerable that I have to erase myself from existence. And how do I know that? Because I had an eating disorder. So I know that disease. So throw that in there. If that's one of your things, especially for women, because women are measured so much based on our physical appearance. It's like our marketability, as my husband's mother would say, who is of an indeterminate age, but eminently marketable. So step number 1, uncover the root cause. Anything that made you feel unlovable, unworthy, unsafe, or powerless. Dig up the pain and feel it. It's almost like you're going to court against the universe and building a case against why you're building a case against existence. Like, why is this planet not acceptable? Make it personal. Start with the stuff that hurts you, but you can throw on other stuff like cruelty to animals, human trafficking, the opiate crisis, climate change, whatever, whatever bothers you and you don't want in your life experience. You're just piling it on until you have a critical mass of ick. You don't have to get everything. We're not here to re-traumatize you, but we want to light up all your neurology. One of my clients is a neuroscientist. She sends me articles to explain to me why my own process works. And when it's like, ooh, this is bad enough. Extra credit for tears, not necessary. Also, this can be tricky to do alone. And I get it. So just do the best you can. When you have enough, step number 2 is you personify the root cause. Imagine that all that crap was orchestrated by some evil entity who is targeting you specifically and used everybody who hurt you to get at you, who just like a puppet master orchestrated all of it, everything that's wrong in the world, just to make you not want to live, to ruin your life. And if you have kids, it's going to go after your kids in front of you. That's really important for parents because we can put up with a lot of pain for a long time, but the moment it goes after our kids, it's like game over. And that's the energy to have, because in step number 3, you are going to annihilate the monster. Only one of you gets to survive. And by the way, I have, in the last year, I've been having clients coming to me for serious health things. That, by the way, that's not my niche. But when I have a client that I've worked with successfully in the past, and they come to me and they say, look, I've got this disease. Will you help me with it? We will create a monster, and we will slay that freaking monster. And so far, we've had some pretty miraculous results from that. So oh, go ahead.
Can I just ask a question on this step?
Yes.
So how is this an imagination process? Are we, like I've heard you talk about before, like kill it, do it like as violent as possible? Like this is just like you're imagining annihilating them in your mind.
Well, it depends.
Okay.
What do you want to do? What will work for you? So you can do it completely silently and completely in your imagination. You can also get up and take it out on a pillow, or slash it out. I've seen all of it, heard all of it. You do you. There's a lot of energy in physicalizing it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that's the only way. It's everything. It's like, I can do this process with one person in 15 minutes and another person, it takes us 7 freaking hours of hard work. And the 15-minute person made $100,000 over the next night. Chris Galligan, an artist. And the 7-hour person made $1.2 million over the next 6 weeks. So nobody is better. It's whatever you need, because you are you, and your monster is going to be your monster. And how you destroy it will be how you destroy it, and how you destroy it this time. Because you slay your money monster, and then 10 years after I slayed my money monster, I slayed my love monster, who
I was
was
just about to ask that.
so much bigger than any of my money monsters had ever been, because that was really the root wound of my whole life. And I met my husband 2 months later. We were both 45. This was August 11th, 2012, our first date. We have been married now for 9 years since our first wedding. But we've been married
100
right.
countries?
We've been married 26 times in 21 countries. We're getting married 100 times in 100 countries. 100% his idea. Yeah, I was moving my foot and I pulled out my microphone. Right. So I have this theory, because I'm a theorist. I come up with theories, that all those years of doing everything you're supposed to be doing to like make the money or find your lover or break through the health or build the career, whatever it is, all those years that you feel like you're just watering the plant, and you're not seeing anything but dirt. And then boom, overnight, whew, bamboo, 12 feet. My theory is all that energy that you're putting into it just kind of builds up and builds up and builds up behind this wall of safety, so that when the wall comes down, what comes in can be much bigger and much faster than you anticipated or would reasonably expect. I need to take some water. Hold on. So my goal in life was to get happily married once, right? And the joke was, no, I just married a man who so surpasses me in romance, which is impossible, but he does. So he came up with the idea of 100 weddings in 100 countries, because he knew that he married a ridiculously insecure, needy, bottomless pit of give me affection kind of partner. And he thought, well, if I marry her 100 times, maybe she'll figure out that I love her.
I love that. That just with you were saying about people who have like a health issue, and you make a monster about health,
right?
And then you did it with love. And so basically, yeah, you could do this with any area of life then.
Yeah. So big reveal.
Yeah.
Every time I talk about your relationship with your relationship with money, every time I talk about your relationship with money, I'm talking about your relationship with life.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we call it love, or we call it health, or we call it money, or we call it success, or we call it God, or we call it life. Doesn't matter. It's all like doors into the same room. A coach friend of mine likes to describe it as a rotunda. It's all doors into the same room, which is our relationship with ourself and existence. So my area of pain, what initially that opened the door to this experience, was money. And I like to focus on money because I think it makes the most elegant monster, and because it's the number one excuse human beings give for what we can't have, do, or be. And it's not just scarcity. I have coached clients on public assistance, and I've coached billionaires. Everybody has drama, because everybody has their stuff about lovability, worthiness, agency, all of it, whatever it is. Everybody has their wounds. Everybody has their fear that it will go away or it won't be enough, whether it's love or money or whatever is your teacher. I consider money, love, and health to be the primary spiritual teachers of human existence. And the great thing when money is the teacher that's in your face is money will get your attention faster than anything else. I was single for 40. I got married for the first time in my life when I was 47. So I survived a long time single, not happily, but I did. I had some happy moments, but I've been like on the hunt for my life partner since I was 4.5. Seriously, Disney did such a number on me. Um, so money, if that's your pain teacher, it's your spiritual teacher, not just a pain teacher. I got my degree in world religion from Smith College, and I really dug the Hindu god Shiva, the lord of death and destruction, is one of the ways he's seen. But if you dig a little deeper, he's the lord of the death and destruction of illusion. Mm. So he gets your attention, and there are all these images, paintings, and statues of Shiva with many, many hands, and then he's dancing on one foot on some poor sod underneath his foot, just crushed underneath his foot. And that poor sod under his foot is us. And what the dance is the dance of existence, and how out of his love, he's putting all this pressure on us so that we will let go of illusion so that we can be saved. So I like that metaphor. It's to me, it's actually very compassionate. It's also what it was the tradition that eventually became Buddhism.
It reminds me of I don't know if you've ever dove into A Course in Miracles, but it reminds me of like the ego and like how people have, whatever area in life is the pain point. It's like, it's the illusion and ego kind of similar thing. Where love drowns it out, like love, shining light on it and shining love on it, like eliminates the illusion.
The reason I don't like making the ego a bad person is because the ego is part of you and part of your team and exists for the sole purpose of your survival. And really, it loves you, and it's trying to help, and it's trying to help you set boundaries, and it's trying to help you figure things out and get what you need. It just doesn't do the best job. It does as good as it can. So I actually have a lot of affection and gratitude and appreciation for the ego. It's why it's so important to make the monster outside of you. The monster cannot be you, and the monster cannot be your parents, because you're going to annihilate it in really grandiose, violent terms on step 3.
Yes.
I just coached a woman earlier today. I'm not going to go into details, but oh my God, her life story and experience is just so abusive and tragic on such a scale. Horrible. And for her to get to pour it all out and use it and then kill the monster felt really, really good, because she was choosing herself and rejecting what is not acceptable in her life. So there's a real empowering experience of that. Many of us are taught, anger and resentment, evil, bad, blah, blah. No, it depends on the tradition. If we go to India and the goddess Durga, she is slaying the monster of ignorance and suffering and chaos and all that stuff. The Kali Ma, Boudica in Europe. I mean, there are lots of Hecate. There are lots of great examples. Saint Michael slaying the dragon. Lots of wonderful examples of saying, no, thou shalt not pass, to quote Monty Python. This is not okay. I choose me. And I find that because the victim experience, which is really, really important, because it's the portal, it's the initiation, but it tends to have a very heavy, damp, sinking quality. But the anger is a very hot, rising energy. It gets us out of the victim experience. And then when the monster is destroyed and is gone, there's no anger left. There's no rage. There's just, whoa, it's gone. I am free. And that can feel like expansiveness and emptiness and light. It can also feel scary, which is fine, but it feels different because this is the first time in your whole life that you've been free of this monster. And then, and only then, when the monster is 100% gone and there's no energetic trace or bloody bits, all gone, now we can meet your honey. We can, all that's left, when the monster is destroyed, all that's left is love. So your new partner, whether you call it money or call it Fred, whatever you call this new relationship with life, it's going to be love. It's an embodiment of love, and it's going to have a human form. I prefer the archetype of lover because I see that lights us up. It makes us feel juicy and beautiful and wanted. It can heal a lot of broken bits inside of us, and lovers are equals. It's not God or Oprah or Gandhi up here and you down there. It's like equals. You can break your lover's heart. And if a lover is not safe for whatever reason, it doesn't have to be a lover, but it does need to be a love relationship where this person, your new, what I call the money honey, loves you more than anybody in the world. That's rule number one of your money honey. Chooses you, loves you over everybody in the world. This is your relationship. He, she, they live for your happiness. And because you have the body, you're the gatekeeper. You have the power to let this person in or push this person away. So step number 4 is meet your money honey. Step number 5 is have a conversation. Start dialoguing. If you can keep dialoguing with your money honey every day of your life, you're going to be so golden. To start with, as a first conversation, you can steal my first conversation. Money, what do you need from me to allow you to be with me the way you want to be with me? And then step number 6, and this is really big, every magic spell, every witch watching or listening knows that every magic spell involves some sort of physicality to get it out of the ether and into the physical realm. So step number 6 is action. Concrete, measurable action. My action was to say thank you when my money honey brought me the next client. But I've had some very interesting actions. One client made a commitment to her money honey to stay home and do the laundry instead of go off on a trip. And while she was home, she got a call in a $20,000 client. A story that I love to share is my client Katie from Canada. That's it. I think at the time she was in Toronto many, many years ago. And I was doing a live demo, coaching demo, so I can share her story. We slayed her monster, really, really dramatic. And then she was talking with her money honey and coming up with the action to let herself and her money honey know that this relationship has changed for the better, that she's committed to this new money honey relationship. And what they agreed on was that she was going to go skating in December. And I don't know, because I live way down here in sunny Long Beach, California, but I've heard that it's cold up in Toronto in December. So when we say skating, we mean ice skating. And she committed, and her money honey lit up. That's what he wanted. So she didn't do it. Day number 1, she's so stressed about money and making money and blah, blah, blah. So she doesn't go skating because it's irresponsible. And nothing changes. Day number 2, she doesn't go skating because she's trying to get work and trying to pay bills and all this kind of stuff. Nothing changes. Day number 3, she goes skating. She takes, I think her son was 10 years old. They go skating. They have this incredible heart connection. She goes home. She gets a phone call and she receives $10,000 without even asking for it. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of the relationship. So it's a dynamic relationship, like any relationship. It's not one and done. You keep having to remarry your money honey, just like I keep remarrying my husband. Keep talking, keep shifting, keep having conversations, arguments, working things out, asking questions, but mostly pouring your love and attention and respect and appreciation into this lifetime partnership, because you will have a relationship with money for your whole life. So you want to make it a good one. And those are the 6 steps. Uncover the root cause, personify the root cause, i.e. make it a money monster, destroy the monster, meet your money honey, have a conversation with your money honey, and take concrete measurable action. The kind of thing where I could call you up next Thursday and say, did you do it? And you could tell me.
So I love the 6 steps. I think it's amazing that it ends in action, because, I just think action is like the missing ingredient sometimes when people talk about manifestation. It's like, let's just affirm and visualize and, sit here and let things come to me. And there's a time and place for that. But yeah, I like that action is the final step.
Well, the problem with just visualizing, and by the way, my caveat is do whatever works for you. Mm-hmm. I led my Rich Witch retreat in Idaho. I was just telling you about the setting at my client's house 2 weeks ago. And the fun thing about coaching women over a period of time, over years, is they just get witchier and witchier and more magical. And they say, I'm going to make this amount of money, and then they make more. And it's fun to watch. And I was telling them about the law of attractive whining. Because if we can make anything a law, why not make anything a law? So this is my law of attractive whining, is I've noticed multiple times in my life, I see somebody has something that I didn't know existed, and I suddenly want it, and I get really pissy, whiny, like, but I want this, and it drops in my lap within 24 hours. And that was the case in 2006 with the Conscious Life Expo. The Conscious Life, what? I never heard of it, but suddenly I had 2 friends who had booths and speaking gigs. I was like, but I want that. And within 24 hours, I got a call from my publicist with a free booth and a free public speaking gig. And my booth is right by the entrance. And then I was speaking at a conference in San Francisco, and I found out somebody else had a TV interview. And I was like, but I want a TV interview. And again, within 24 hours, I had an interview in Sacramento. So whatever works for you. I think the thing with the whining is because it's so silly and my life doesn't depend on it. And I just discovered I want it, but I don't believe I'm going to get it, and it's, and then it just happens, so do what works for you. But I would say, if you take nothing else from this whole hour that we've been together, your biggest takeaway should be change happens at the speed of safety. If you are doing all the work and your results don't make sense and change isn't happening and you're wearing yourself out, something isn't safe. There is a monster that you are protecting yourself from somewhere, even though like all the things going on are outside of you. Like with the client that I was working with this morning, the stuff that happened was not her fault. But how do we use it? How do we take those victim experiences that you've already been through? You've already paid the price of admission. So how do we milk it and use it for the life you want to create? And that is alchemy. I call this whole process financial alchemy, even though I sometimes make it love or health or whatever needs alchemy. And alchemy is the transmutation of lead, as in lead in human experience, into gold, spiritual and material. It makes us more resourceful. It allows us to see opportunities that we didn't see, to feel our value and our worth, and to just relate to existence differently. And then weird things happen. And I live for the weird things. I.e., if anything weird happens to you after watching or listening to this episode, for goodness sake, let me know. That is my kink. The $10,000 instant manifestation is, and by the way, that's been kind of a joke in my business for a long time, that people hear me talk and then somebody makes $10,000 overnight. And I had this retreat in Idaho, and all these clients who have never met before are meeting for the first time because I've worked with them in different situations, and they're meeting each other. And then the conversation goes to, well, how did you find out about Morgana? What happened? And Sandy's talking about how she saw me speak and heard the thing about $10,000 and thought that was hysterical. Ha ha ha. Didn't believe it. Tried the process and made $10,000. Marina did my retreat in Bali. The goal was to sell her company for 300,000 euro. And within a couple of weeks of going home, despite all the attorneys and all the, family members saying it was impossible, she sold her company on her terms for 300,000 euro. So all I can promise is, if you do the work and you uncover the root cause and you're really, really brave with it, do the best you can. And I do understand that sometimes it's not safe to do by yourself. That's why I coach. But I also, just with all the energy that I put into my communication in this recording, I am really, really hoping to push you across the line to have a result, a positive result. So uncover, really dig into your pain spots, build up the negative energy. It's the fuel. It's the lead that turns into gold. Build up the negative energy. It's like a slingshot to catapult you to where you want to be. That's step number one. Then make it a very, very real monster. Not your parents, not your husband if you're living with him, not you. Make it bigger than anyone. This monster used everybody, but make it real. Don't let it be too cartoonish, because that can make you dissociate. We want to associate you, meaning I want you to feel it as if it's real, because it is real to your unconscious, and your unconscious is where your beliefs and your attitudes and your actions and your results come from. Your conscious mind is, I love your conscious mind. Mwah! I love all you smarties. And your attitudes, your beliefs, your actions, and your results come from the subconscious. That's what's steering the ship. That's what we're speaking to when we do this process. Destroy the monster, meet your money, honey. And at the very least, you will have an experience of life and yourself and money unlike anything you've ever experienced before. And life will feel expansive, and you will be in the field of possibility.
Can I ask something about, because you mentioned beliefs. I wanted to just touch on this. So earlier when you were saying about how one of your clients made 1.2 million in 6 weeks or something like that. And it's some people that is just beyond, So when people have certain beliefs about people who have money, or for example, I've heard family members of mine talk about people who have money in a certain way, where it's they should be doing X, Y, and Z, or they must be nice or whatever. People have these beliefs about people who are wealthy that are negative, so they're also holding themselves away from that experience because they're talking negatively about them. So do you think this process, this alchemizing, does that include kind of alchemizing those beliefs in the process? Is it do you think it happens during that process, or is it going to be something that would take longer?
I will tell you how it works for me. I believe there are a lot of really bad people who have a lot of money who do really bad things in the world. 100,000%. I totally believe that. I believe that money is used and abused. So yeah, and I can find lots of evidence, and I can go way down that rabbit hole and then create a lot of distance between myself and my money, honey. Here's what I get out of slaying the monster. And I've done it more than once in my life. There was, I don't remember the exact year. It was in the neighborhood of 2007. I would have to Google it to find out. But there was a guy who was in the movie The Secret who had this camp, and he was playing God, and he's saying, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead. And then he had that Indian smoke tent, and all these people died in the smoke tent. They were trying to leave, and he was saying, "Don't let them leave." And they were passing out, and they died. And he went to prison. True story. James Earl, I don't know, Ray, or I may have the name completely wrong, but I remember this. That weekend that was going on, I had no idea that was going on. But I tend to be kind of sensitive, intuitive to whatever is going on in the atmosphere. And I remember that weekend, I was having a real like crisis of faith in my coaching world, because I saw a lot of stuff going on that I really didn't like and didn't believe in. A lot of materialism, a lot of people being, a lot of the big look at me spiritual gurus who were really just judging everything by money. And if you don't have money, well, you're not successful, you're not spiritual. And it was just like really, really icky. A lot of exploitation of people's fears and vulnerabilities and taking advantage of people who are already in a bad spot. And it was like, I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to be associated with it. I don't want people to think I'm like that. I don't want to be part of that machine. I don't know if I just don't think I even want to be a coach. And I had this horrible, like, just struggle with this. And it was really painful. And I've had this more than once. And I made a whole monster out of everything that I'm against. The way people are like talked into things they shouldn't buy, and they aren't delivered on promises that are made, and they're made to feel like it's their fault. And there's a lot of that going on. It's like a machine of like numbers instead of people. And look at how many sales I made, but not how many people actually got the result they expected or wanted or paid for. And I put all of that into my monster, and I slayed this monster. And I came out on the other side with a money honey who was like, hell yeah. And you're going to stay in business to be an alternative to that. And we're going to make money in our value system. And that's how I use it. That can exist, but my money doesn't want to be part of that any more than I do. So our teamwork is that we only make money doing what we believe in, that is in alignment with our values. And then I don't have to like drive with the brake on. I don't have to be at war with myself. Because my money, honey, my money and I share the same values. We want to save the world. And we want to work with people who are saving the world. That's my long-winded, because I'm always long-winded, answer.
So, but with
you can't pretend what's there isn't there.
Right. But what about like in general, like beliefs about money, like negative beliefs, like there's never enough, or like, money's hard to come by, like beliefs about money.
That goes back to Hillary, you're hard to come by. You're never there.
Yeah.
I can't count on you. I don't trust you. Let's like all those thoughts. Well, how do you think money feels about it? Flip it.
Yeah.
Money's not happy in this relationship either.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't change money, but you can change who. Well, yeah, you can, because you slay the monster. But at the end of the day, what you really can change is how you choose to be a relationship partner in the relationship. So only have a relationship with the money worth having a relationship with, and then be a great relationship partner, because the whole point of it is to grow you and evolve you. That's why I call money a spiritual teacher who gets your attention. Ouch. What am I not paying attention to? Where did I go to sleep? Where have I been complacent? Where have I been pushing money away or judging? Where have I not been valuing myself enough? These are all like, ooh, bank account just went down. What's going on? These are things that I look at. I'll say, hey, money, what am I missing here? What do I need to learn here? What's up? Then I can, because it's an ongoing relationship. There was something else I wanted to say, which may have slipped my mind. Oh, well.
I like how it's just ongoing. And I'm sure you've heard of this. What's his name? Ken Ken Honda, and he talks about arigato in and arigato out, and like thanking money as it comes in and out. And yeah, just like always constantly like having that awareness of how you're thinking of it, and yeah, having the awareness of the relationship that you're always ongoing having with money. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are just unconscious, and it's like we're
Well,
just unaware.
and that's why we make it a person, because that's how we can take it out of our unconscious and make it conscious to us.
Yeah.
I don't know Ken Honda, but I'll check him out.
Yeah.
Right before my retreat, about 3 weeks ago, my favorite cat, I know I shouldn't pick favorites, but I do, almost died.
Oh no.
And I was like totally freaked out and beside myself. His name is Odin Osiris. He has risen. He's my do-over cat because Odin, number one, ran away when I first moved to Long Beach, and I felt just guilt and sadness over that. And then this new gray cat shows up 4 years later, and I think it's the same one. It's not, but so I, this cat showed up in my driveway, emaciated and wounded and sad and scared, and so it took me weeks to trick him into my house, and then castrate him, and then trauma bond with him afterwards. It's like a horror movie for cats, and now he's my cat. For several years, and then he had kidney stones and he had surgery, and I gave him the wrong medicine, and now he's going into serotonin syndrome, and he's about to die, and he's throwing up, and he's like, terrifying. $7,000 plus on a cat in 1 week. And my husband is like, doesn't get it at all. But I was like, there was no way that I could live with myself and not do everything I could do. And I could have gotten really mad at money in life, because that week we memorialized my husband's best friend who had just died. My stepbrother died, and a close business colleague died. Wow. All in 3 days. Wow. And now my cat is almost dying. So it's like everything to make me feel unsafe and not okay in the world. And I could feel a monster coming. And I think I even slayed a monster that week, honestly. And then I made a decision, as I'm spending $2,000, $3,000 a day on this cat, to say thank you, money, for saving my cat. Best investment ever. And now I've got a happy cat who's putting on weight, doesn't appreciate what I did for him at all.
I'm sure he does.
Only during feeding time.
The same thing happened to me. I had a cat that had a rare disease, and he almost died, and it was $10,000 to save him. And yeah, a lot of people are like, what? It's a cat. I'm like, that's my family. But yeah, same thing.
Here was the thing, and by the way, this does not apply to anybody watching or listening. This is just Morgana. I'm really not saying that this applies to anybody else. But I knew. And there was other stuff. And there was this huge tax bill that I didn't know. All dropped the same week. And knowing myself, I knew that if I didn't invest in saving the cat, I would blame money for my cat dying. And I would make money a monster. And that was another reason why I decided to spend that money on saving my cat, because I knew what, for me, the alternative would be. Is money was the bad guy who killed my cat. And I would not let that happen.
It's so true that it's interwoven in everything, and it's the reason we always make it the reason why we can't do X, Y, and Z. It's so interesting that it's woven into everything. And I love how you said earlier about how money follows love, and like having love, like just infusing love into every area. And with the money honey thing,
and let's be honest, very often money is a real legitimate reason that people can't do things.
Right.
And I have the very happy experience, having been doing this for so many years, so many times, of seeing people over and over and over at the abyss, at that, oh my God, I have no idea how they're going to get out of this. Can I even let them pay me? Kind of. And I remember one client specifically where I was having that reaction back around, I think, 2006 or 7. One of my favorite clients of all time, her name is Athena. And she's telling me her situation. I'm going, oh my God, I can't let her pay me. Ah! And I heard that little voice in the back of my head saying, it's not up to you. Treat her like an adult. Let her decide. And she had slayed her monster, and she had actually a pretty awesome money honey who told her to hire me. So she hired me. And she was one of those people at overwhelming bills. I had no idea how she was going to dig herself out of it. But I know how to do what I do. So we slayed her monster, and it was a horrible monster. And she had this new money honey, and weird things started to happen. First, her mortgage company called her and made a deal with her to lower her mortgage rate and pay off all her credit card bill. And then she started raising her prices. And I was actually coaching her on this. Instead of charging like $100 an hour, she started selling her intuitive sessions as packages, as $10,000 packages. And she was making multiple tens of thousands of dollars a month in a just like 3 or 4 months after we started coaching. And she was actually going on what she was calling money moons down to Hawaii, or not Hawaii, Florida, other side of the country, down to Florida, money moons with her money honey. Get it? These spiritual money moons. And she's just one example, but I have seen it so many times. And that's the gift of being a coach, is because circumstances are very dramatic and very scary and very seductive. And our conscious reasoning brain can't always figure it out, especially when we're in fear. So I find the best thing to do is use the fear and use the hurt and use the trauma and put it into that monster and slay it and change your life experience. So at least you can relax. What you want becomes safe. The limbic reptile brain relaxes and the genius zone wakes up, and that's when things start to change. And it is because I've seen people come from impossible situations. Perry was at 0 when she borrowed the money and arranged the money to go on my Money Goddess retreat in Bali in 2013. In 2016, I was standing on the stage back at Sun Valley, Idaho, which is actually where I got the client that I was visiting, at their wellness festival, where Deepak Chopra and Tony Robbins and Marianne Williamson and Jewel and everybody has spoken on that stage. And I was speaking on that stage 3 years later, 2016, and Perry is introducing me, and she's telling her story, stuff that I didn't know, such as she made $12 million in the 3 years after doing the retreat with me. Wow. She was sharing how she used those spiritual lessons and fought for what was hers to get there. And the latest news drop is she's getting married. And I think she's in her 60s, and she was sure that was never going to happen again. And right person. It makes love safe. That's a pattern that I see a lot also, is when we heal our relationship with money, love becomes safe. So there are a lot of first-time marriages and babies happening. I have one client whose baby is named Athena and another client whose baby is named Zeus.
I love that.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to meet.
Okay, this has been amazing. Thank you for all of this wisdom. If you could leave the audience with one message, what would that one message be?
To be a broken record. Change happens at the speed of safety. If change isn't happening, something isn't safe. You are not a loser. You are not a failure. You are not a self-saboteur. You are your own best friend. The prime directive that governs everything that is you is to protect you, the host. So your job, when you see the change isn't happening, is to find out what is not safe so that you can make it safe, so that you can have what you desire and deserve. And that's my message.
Love it. Beautiful. All right. If people want to find you, how can they do that?
Easy, morganarae.com. Just my name, slap a .com on it, and you will find my 4-part money magnetic video series for free there, and my money love quiz, and hundreds of videos and articles that I have compiled over decades to answer questions that people like you have come up with about how to slay your money monster, what to do if blah, blah, blah. Just if you have questions about your money monster, your money honey, look in my blog. If you want to find a really good curated guide through the process, like I dumped as much as I could think of while we were here, but there's stuff that I forget. Get Financial Alchemy, 12 Months of Magic and Manifestation. And by the way, a new edition came out this year, the 10-year anniversary edition. I can't find it. It's supposed to be in this room. I was going to hold it up. It's the one with the blonde me on it.
Yeah.
The magic and manifestation part in the second half is not much changed. I just felt that I just desperately needed to update the Financial Alchemy chapter and the process to sound like what I sound like now. I've coached and facilitated the creation of way more millionaires over the last decade. And I know some things that I didn't know with the first book, but the first book works really well. One of my clients had her first $250,000 sales month by herself using the book before she hired me.
Wow.
So it's a good book.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. So morganarae.com. I will link that below. Thank you for joining me today. I'm honored to have you on the Divine Hangout. And thanks for listening, everybody. See you in the next one. Bye.